It was double duty today in the desert of Qatar. We had the sprint race on Saturday afternoon, and then we had the qualifying session on Saturday evening. Let's look at the sprint race first, guys. Let's have a look at the 5 main talking points from the first of 2 races this weekend around the Lusail International Circuit. First of all, let's talk about Ferrari, where the only phrase that I can think of is hell, they are bad. I mean, my God. I mean, they were terrible. Don't get me wrong, they were terrible in qualifying, but during the sprint race, it all went pear-shaped, even worse than on the Friday evening session. This was absolutely abysmal from the Scuderia. Sir Lewis Hamilton qualified down in P18 and he barely made any ground during the Grand Prix, finishing in P17. Leclerc, meanwhile, started on the edge of the points for the sprint in P9, but he ended up finishing all the way down in P13. The car just has absolutely no pace. It seems extremely unstable at high speed, which is the last thing that you want around a track that has no low speed corners. It is all medium and high speed corners around this track. So for some reason, the Ferrari just does not want to work, and the results from the sprint and also from qualifying as well later today really underline that. But yeah, terrible for Ferrari. They will hope for much better in the Grand Prix on Sunday, but again, given the results in the qualifying, probably not. Let's have a look further up the grid with the guys who actually troubled the points today. And it was a tale of 2 penalties for Yuki Tsunoda and Kimi Antonelli, who both got a 5-second penalty for falling foul of track limits. Tsunoda got that relatively early on in the Grand Prix, and Antonelli got it actually imposed upon him well after the checkered flag. He did it pretty late in the actual sprint race, did Antonelli, and that meant that they didn't end up swapping positions. They stayed where they actually finished. So they ended up P5 for Tsunoda and P6 for Kimi Antonelli. And it looked as though Antonelli was going to be P5, but no, that ended up being Tsunoda's in the end, which is his best result for a long time. I mean, it's not that many points, only 4 points, but it's still a top 5. It's a really good performance in the sprint qualifying and the sprint. But from one Red Bull to the other, let's talk about the guy who's in the championship hunt, Max Verstappen, who ended up finishing in P4, and to be honest, that was really as good as it was ever going to get for him. He ended up jumping Fernando Alonso and his teammate off the start. Tsunoda didn't make it difficult for his teammate, unsurprisingly, very much moved Alonso out of the way. A very well choreographed team move, I must say. He did try and get P3 ahead of Lando Norris. He did go for a lunge early on in the race going into turn 1, but unfortunately for him, he was not far enough alongside. And from there, Lando Norris very much took off like a scalded cat. Max Verstappen went early. He put all his performance and all his effort into the opening laps of the race. Didn't work out for him, unfortunately for him, but still P4 only loses 1 point to Lando Norris because Norris got P3 today. He finished where he started. A decent performance, I suppose, overall for him. He couldn't get off the line and beat George Russell into turn 1, and he couldn't really get close enough to George Russell, who had an excellent day today on Saturday, it must be said. But yeah, Norris gains a point on Max Verstappen. That gap is up to 25 points. But the gap to his teammate, Oscar Piastri, is down to 22 because Piastri won this race at an absolute canter. He has won the sprint race in Qatar 3 years in a row. That 100% record in the Qatari sprint does keep up for him. And this was his most dominant victory out of the 3 without a doubt whatsoever. He was excellent today. He almost won the sprint by nearly 5 seconds, and he could tell that he wasn't really pushing 100%, especially in the latter stages. George Russell just unable to keep up with him. Lando Norris unable to get by George Russell as well. So Piastri, really good Saturday for him, and it got a whole lot better as well during Grand Prix qualifying. But more on that, like I said, in the other video that'll be out very soon for you guys. But yeah, those were the 5 things that we learned from the Qatar Sprint today. Not the most eventful race, but very significant for the championship for sure. Lando Norris can win the World Championship tomorrow if he gets a good result, if he wins the Grand Prix or beats Oscar Piastri by a significant margin. Same with Max Verstappen as well. We'll see what happens, guys. Get your thoughts in the comments below. Who's your driver today? Who was your driver of the day in the sprint? I want to hear what you have to say as always, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always. Have a good one. See you soon.